Hello, everybody, and welcome to another fall qualifier. What is this, karaoke? Is this number 11?
Something like that. I haven't kept track, honestly. Oh, 11, yes. Got confirmation on that. Yes, number 11.
Number 11. So I believe that including this one, there are only 5 left in the tournament, if I can do math correctly. So not a lot of chance left to improve your score or to make a score. It's still not too late to join a tournament or to join a race. That's too late to join this race, but you could race 4 races in the next 4 that will happen, and then take a auto forfeit. I believe is how that works on the last one. Don't quote me on that. But in racing today, we have Christos Owen, Someone325, Chloe Prower, and In the Name of DT. I am Kern, and I'm joined by Karaoke. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you doing?
Pretty great. I was just doing some a little bit of research before to see where these folks are currently at in the tournament. So Christos and In the Name of DT, both having just started. Christos has done one race. In the Name of DT hasn't ranked yet at all. Christos getting an 82.76 in his one race. I would say that that's pretty low for Christos, and could be attributed to a long break that he's taken from Rando. And same with In the Name of DT, actually. I noticed on SRL that they haven't been racing very much since August, which makes sense. A lot of people kind of drop out during the tournaments. Chloe Prower, however, up in 25th. Pretty crazy, with a score average of 94.26 with 3 races having been raced. So almost certainly going to qualify with a score like that. And Someone325 also pretty looking like they're going to qualify almost certainly, with 3 races at 87.06 and 83rd. So you need to hit that 128th place in order to qualify for the tournament. So some stuff on the line. I mean, it's still possible that that some of these people might not qualify, but also seeding is very important as well here. So how you seed will depend on who your matchups are going to be in the next phase of the tournament.
Yeah, so, actually, we seem to be at, this is the 12th qualifier, not the 11th. See, we can't do math on stream. That's like a no-no.
That's my bad. I kicked it over to you, too. I'm like, this is the 11th, right, Karaoke?
Yeah, I just kind of guessed, yeah, that sounds right. Because, yeah, I've just been kind of watching them on the side here and not keeping track of how many, because there's been a lot of races and there's been a lot of stuff happening in all these races, yet there's still, a good more to go that can shake up how the brackets turn out in the end.
I'm liking these file names here. Mom Spaghetti from Christos Owen might be anticipating or maybe commenting on a former race. Got a no H over. I wonder what that's about.
No hover.
Oh, could be.
but there's boots in the code name. Not that means anything. The code name is just how to identify that everyone's on the same seed. But sometimes it's kind of fun to play around with the items that are up there. Everything's very kind of reddish brown today, except for that one medallion too.
I was just about to comment. That's my favorite thing, is when you have color coordinated hashes. I'll just re-roll a seed because the hash isn't color coordinated enough.
I like the ones that end up being palindromes or something. So you kind of have 2 items and then a middle item, and then the other 2 items, reverse. So you kind of get it's the same way backwards and forwards. That's always cool.
Yeah, you have to re-roll a lot more seeds to get those. A lot more rare. Ooh, I see people and hear people moving cursors. That means we must be about to start, and we are off.
And speaking of medallions and such, the first item we get out of Link's house is the Ether Medallion.
So most of our runners going up for this early Uncle play, which is a very standard route. Chloe Prower, however, starting in Sanctuary and heading towards Kakariko. Looks like they got bombs in that chest there, judging by the 3 bombs in their item menu.
Christos, meanwhile, taking the south route down into Kakariko, picked up some bombs from those bushes by the forest there. Doing a quick map check here, looks like we got both of our red crystals, 5 and 6, in the light world, and then a pendant over at Eastern.
Got just a piece of heart on the Uncle and 100 rupees up in the Lost Woods.
Race game only had 3 bombs, so not too worth doing that whole run for, just for, some stuff you can pick up out of bushes.
Yeah,
It looks like
Christos,
just
because
arrows on the library.
it would be nice to have more bombs for Christos there, but it's probably not worth it to spend a bomb to go get 3 more bombs and spend a bunch of time. So someone 325 deciding to go the south route as Christos did to farm some bombs. Really natural play. Like if you don't have bombs to not go Sank to CAC. Unfortunately, there is 3 bombs in the chest in Sanctuary, so it would have been fine, as some other runners have done, to start from there and go to CAC. But in the end, it's not going to make a huge difference time-wise.
Yeah, eventually these opening routes all kind of converge in terms of overlapping and, you know, of course, depending on what items are found, there could be more routes opened up. But usually in the end, all the same runners just check everything in just different orders.
Christos using his last bomb here to get some more bombs. So you find a Bloomerang in the back of Blind's Hut. Not a lot yet in terms of progression, so maybe CAC's not the place today, but I don't think we've seen the well yet from anybody.
Now it's looking like Chloe Prower is going to be the first one to make the leap of faith into the well. Pick up the items within there.
Red rupees, bombs, and more bombs. Wow. So dud CAC, like through and through. I don't think we've missed anything yet. Maybe the chicken hut check? Or I think Christos did that. Well, rip CAC.
Yeah, Bottle Vendor didn't even have everything. It was like the last little place to check there.
Well, while our runners are catching up with each other, a thing I forgot to mention at the beginning here, we talked about how Chloe Prower and Someone 325 have done 3 races and are almost certainly going to qualify for the tournament. They're playing for seeding now. Christos and In the Name of DT still needing to do a lot of races in order to get there, but they're both very good runners. Christos is NMG PB is a 126.10, I believe officially, although at AGDQ he did get an unofficial better PB. And In the Name of DT has a 131. So both are very respectable NMG times, which just goes to show the skill of these runners. So despite not having run any races, these are some like very top quality runners that we're watching here.
No, so it does look like, okay, it looks like Kakariko did have one good item, and that is the first sword in the front half of, front portion of the Thief's Hut there, along with the first shield as well. So, you know, there's your starter adventurer kit right there, sword and shield right next to each other.
Yeah, it can be a real bummer to not have those for a while. It can make things go a lot slower, but can be more fun. But at least it's going to be in a place that everybody is going to find it in the qualifiers. The thing to keep an eye out for in the qualifiers is the variance level of the seed. Like how far out of the way is progression or safety items can make a huge difference in a race like this, where what you're going for is like a nice, safe, average route for the most part.
Definitely. It's a lot different of a mindset than racing versus 1 or 3 other people at a time. You're racing, this race, I believe, had 78 total entrants in it, so little bit of different thinking strategies that I think a lot of runners have to go towards, instead of, you know, learning what their opponents might be doing and playing off of that and trying to think one step ahead of them. I think a lot of people tend to play their own gut feelings and their own kind of safest routes and what they feel best.
Yeah, it's a little bit of definitely a little bit of a mindset than when you're doing, you know, 1v1. You do have to play it a little bit more safe, or at least be cognizant of how much risk you're taking. Unless you are so far ahead, like Chloe might be, for example, where like maybe they just want to try to get a first place, you know, so maybe they could pull out some stops because they think they're pretty safe here now.
Yeah, depending on when you get certain items can also like kind of determine how you feel about your position. Like if you happen to find like Moon Pearl and Hook Shot and Lift Upgrade like super fast, you might think, oh, I might be really ahead at this point because I checked these out of the way places and got these awesome items. Speaking of awesome items, we got a Red Cane and Fire Rod. in the mini moleworm cave.
The red cave. So not quite opening up anything yet with those items, but certainly nice to have. Again, it's another spot that most people should find fairly early on. Not many routes will avoid Mini Moldorm Cave, in open mode anyway.
Chloe's taken the hike over to the Ice Rod Cave, it looks like, getting that out of the way item check done. I know some runners like to wait until they have boots to get that, just because it saves some time. And it's a one-off check when they could possibly be checking more item-dense locations.
And I didn't see what that was. Is that a bottle?
Yep, that was a bee in a bottle.
Not our first bottle either, so not quite value over there in Ice Rod Cave. Looks like Chloe's going to escape here. So not a ton of choice for Chloe at this point, other than to go to Hyrule Castle. She also hasn't done, or he also hasn't done Uncle, so that would be another reason to do this. I forgot that Chloe started at Sank and then went Cat.
Yeah, this is probably the best point to get this little area done, I think, before heading over. You know, depending on what you find here, you might open up desert, you might, end up having to go over to Eastern, which would probably be the next most, dense area between Sasharala's closet and the beginnings of the dungeon itself.
Chloe taking his time wisely to check what the stun drop is and finds that it's a full magic. So that could be quite helpful with some early magic items like Fire Rod that can really be very useful for speed strats, but do rely on using a lot of magic.
In the name of DTS, be a little careful up here with the crabs running around, down to half a heart. But that last crab's pretty far away, so they're gonna be fine.
Someone 325 was faced with basically the same choice as Chloe Prower, but a little bit harder to make the choice. Oh, okay, yeah, they were heading towards the Hyrule Castle. They've already done the Uncle, so not quite as valuable of a play, and they've changed their mind and heading towards Sahashala and Eastern. So he'll be the first of our restream runners to show us what's over in this area. Like imagining making these choices, in this very intensely competitive qualifier format. Early game, like we said, they do tend to converge, but you do think in the back of your mind, if I make the right play or make the wrong play, it could cost me a lot of time. And, your chest just tightens thinking about it. Just seeing their indecision there about going to Hyrule Castle gives me anxiety secondhand.
Yeah, and looks like the Shrashwala's closet had some clothes in it today, getting the blue tunic upgrade on some 1325 screen there, and DT gonna be getting it in a second here.
Oh, Chloe Prower manages to net Power Glove after all that and escape, and looks like they're taking a Death Warp to go do, I can only assume is going to be the Dark Cross Room. But they changed their mind and save and quit instead. It makes sense. I don't believe they've seen the map yet, or maybe even the small key. So if they check the back of Escape, they could skip the Dark Cross entirely.
Yeah, with that lift upgrade, they can just get right to the back of the room there and see what those 3 chests have versus stumbling their way through the dark rooms. I'm sure they, know the dark rooms like the back of their hand. They could probably do the dark rooms with their eyes closed, in fact.
Yeah, the dark room sometimes in reverse can be easier. Oh, and there's a lamp. Speaking of the dark rooms, it looks like it's just a key in the dark cross, so Chloe's going to save him.
And also important, the mirror. So very illuminating, that
Oh.
room there.
And someone 325, and in the name of DT, is about to grab it as well. Hammer on the right side of Eastern Palace in Green Pen and Eastern without an early bow. That's going to be a hard place to choose to route to. Although Chloe does look like they're going in that direction, which is going to be very good for them if they do. They could also just be checking Sahasrara before going up the mountain or something like that.
I sort of feel like if you're making the time to go over here now, you kind of want to at least maybe check like the front part of just like, you know, a couple Eastern early checks. But, you know, Sahasrara is really quick, so they might, you know, do this, save quit, head up the mountain then. I don't know.
Yeah,
I like trying to clear out areas as fully as possible before going to another area across the map, but okay, they did take the save and quit option. Going the quick route.
You know, it's hard to imagine exactly what Chloe is thinking, but if I had to guess, it would be that their thought process here is, let's check Sahasrara because that's a very common early checked spot, just in case it had something progressive like the Moon Pearl. That way I'm mitigating that little bit of risk, but let's not commit to an Eastern dip just yet. So, to be honest, whatever decision they made there, I think can make sense. And that's a part of how Rando's going to Rando sometimes. But it might be hard for them to return to that hammer, particularly if they keep getting progression somewhere like up on the mountain that takes them away from it. In the name of DT doing this dark room here to get the key.
In terms of hammer progression, I could see it happening where they go to make an early... Once they get into the dark world, they go and make an early pod check and mirror back over to Eastern, since Chloe Prod does have the mirror. The mirror's like a pretty early, easy item to get, since it's in the back of Escape there, and then do an Eastern dive, you know, after doing pod part way, possibly.
You know, and that might have been exactly Chloe's thinking, is like, you know, I have the mirror, I'm going to have another opportunity to come back here. And there's the Moon Pearl, so we now know how we can get into the Dark World. We know a way that we can get there. Moon Pearl on the old man. And I think we saw that from Christos earlier. I just wasn't looking at his screen. But they're almost in sync here, climbing the mountain.
Oh, would you look at that?
Get your speed syncs in chat, everybody.
And that there's a shovel inside Spectacle Rock. I dig it.
So we saw Christos Owen warming up a little bit with the Harapot glitch. He said in IRC that he hadn't learned it before. It makes sense, he's just coming back from a long break. Fortunately, doesn't have the items to do it, but... Chloe Power going for a Death Heal and Death Warp, just to mitigate a little bit of, like, doesn't want to die on the top of Tarahera, maybe?
And Christos heading into the coffee break room. No coffee break today, though, it looks like.
And meanwhile, someone 325 picking up their gloves. They've set up a death warp, which looks like they are going through with. So this is unfortunate if they do decide to do Dark Cross before going down the back of Escape, because they will just be finding a key there.
Yeah, I mean, the path works out, it just loses a bit of time.
In the name of DT, his save and quit. They're probably going to go to the back of Escape as well. Chloe Power. Oh, you know, chat did call out. Maybe Chloe forgot that they had a mirror. So that could be exactly what's happening here. Is like it's not a death heal as I thought it was. It could just be a death warp. Someone 325 opened up the chest, got the key, save and quit, and probably back of escape now. And looks like the final item is going to be on Moldorm in Talavera.
I always forget about that little warp you can do with the mirror in the sanctuary there. But in any case, we got Christos being the first to fight the giant worm at the top of the tower.
Those NMG skills coming in handy there with that quick Moldorm kill.
And just some pocket change. More importantly, that's one of the 5/6 crystals. Christos being the first on the board with a crystal. Chloe right behind.
So it looks like we've run out of steam with this. Well, sorry, no, never mind. We have the hammer. What am I saying? Well, Christos and Chloe don't, but some other runners do. So Christos and Chloe's options have been really limited now to either going to Agina or going back into Eastern to grab that hammer. Which in terms of variance, seed variance, is good news for them, because if they continue to get progression that led them away from Eastern, that could be very bad to miss that hammer. Oh yeah, right, and the shovel we haven't seen.
Yeah. Christos picking up the shovel, being the first one there, and that's one more, small location to check on the way, to Agina there. It looks like he's going Eastern.
Oh, someone 325 getting dead rocked, so tried to screen transition it away, but didn't go quite far enough, maybe? Chloe Prower saving and quitting to the Sanctuary, so this must be the bottle turn-in.
Yeah, Sick Kid hasn't been seen yet. Nobody went back to Kakariko after picking up either one of those bottles.
So in the name of DT, someone 325, both taking slightly different routes than Chloe and Christos did. With that hammer, it means that they can continue on to the right side of Death Mountain, so it makes more sense for them to grab the shovel first. But it's going to be exciting to see what's over there in Paradox Cave, because it's got to be, I mean, it doesn't have to be, but it's likely going to be for Christian.
Unfortunately, nothing of progressive note on Sick Kid. Just you show him a bottle, and he shows you a better bottle.
Ooh, someone 325. I think that was an unintentional death. I didn't see. I think they were in the overworld when that happened. Yeah, it must have been a rock cabbage that fell on their face while they were climbing the stairs. Many a runner has died a valiant but unfortunate death to those rocks. Speaking of rocks,
Had to play a little bit of bullet hell there, dodging the rocks as they waited for the dead rock to unlock so they could rock on with this seed.
Wow. That was incredible. I'm speechless.
That was all stream of consciousness. And just judging by how, nothing else pathed out in terms of additional unlocks gotten by going up through Hera and Death Mountain. Both Christos and Chloe Prower have ended up in Eastern. Christos already picked up the hammer, and Chloe will do soon as well. And then DT and someone, since they did that already, they're going up Hera and gonna finish off that and get their first crystal soon. So, while everyone's kind of going over what they did before, what do you think's after this?
Well, I think that the next step is Paradox, but is it going to lead? I mean, they have Dark World access, right? So Christos Owen, does he go back up Death Mountain and bet against himself, having not had the hammer, when In the Name of DT and Someone 325 did, which is going to make their Death Mountain more efficient, or does he go to Village of Outcasts? It's such a tough call, because it's either if it's a head-to-head, you maybe don't go up the mountain because you feel like you're betting against yourself. But in a big qualifier race, it might change his thinking. But it looks like he's heading to Village of Outcasts, so we're going to be getting lots of new checks here on multiple screens. We'll see if Chloe makes the same choice when they get there.
Yeah, I noticed chat mentioning Zora, that Christos does have money for Zora, the only one there, with someone being the next closest at 400 monies. Actually, no, DT's got over 400 monies. In any case, Zora being a one-off check at this point versus being able to go to somewhere like Village of Outcasts where you can hit a lot of checks there and then possibly dive into Thieves Town and do that dungeon and clear it out. Might be worth saving something like Zora for later when you're hitting up that area in the Dark World for something like Catfish and get kind of multiple things out of the way, just because that's kind of off up in the corner of the map.
I know that Christos does enjoy sometimes to go to Pyramid relatively early in the run, and a Pyramid chain in with Catfish to Zora would make a lot of sense. But it would be nice, of course, to have the flippers before they do that. Okay, so here we go, Paradox Cave. What do you have for us? That was a really cool, like, all three Moldorms with one bomb. Ice Rod. Mitts. Oh my goodness.
Alright. That's one rough item out of the way, and also a very handy item as well.
Chloe Prower also saving and quitting, not going up the mountain, but deciding to do, starting with Hype Cave. We'll see where they decide to go from there. But that Mitts on Death Mountain is, it's not decided yet whether or not that is definitely a bad thing for Chloe and Christos, but it's not looking good. Mitts would be one of the reasons that those two runners might wait to go up to Death Mountain. They might be waiting to find the Mitts to go up there to kind of do it all in one. So it could really put off that check for quite a while. But it all depends on how important having those Mitts early is, because it could just as well lead you down all sorts of wild goose chases that you don't want to go down anyway.
So Turtle Rock is Bombos. No clue where that medallion is. Christos decided to make the Skull Woods place, and they do with the fire. Does with the fire rod.
Yeah, looking like we're gonna
clear the whole thing.
Probably gonna set up for a Hammer Mothula fight. Chloe finding a book in Hype Cave and deciding to head towards Stump Kid and the Dig Game, as In the Name of DT found a Master Sword in Super Bunny Cave. So many checks, it's hard to keep up with here.
And also able to check Hookshot Cave, and there's those flippers.
So now this is what this is what I'm talking about. You have the flippers now. You have a hook shot. You have hammer. The mitts led to those flippers. It could shove you into ice. It could shove you into Swamp Palace. And if it doesn't have progression, then mitts may not have been a blessing early. We're just gonna have to see how this unfolds. Christo's showing us a really good Moth fight here, but he's getting a little bit of Moth is getting a little bit of iframes from those spikes, but takes him down pretty handily.
Yeah, good 5-heart Moth fight there. Picking up his second crystal. And of course, thank you so much to our tracking team for picking up which dungeons. I think someone did a map check at some point. Maybe not someone 325, but one of the other racers did a map check and was able to pull up that Swamp Palace and Thieves Town, or our other two pendant dungeons, with everything else being crystals this time. Good thing the ice rod is in a relatively high checked location for Turtle Rock later on.
So Christo's finding just a key in the second chest. It looks like he's going to kind of do a reverse clear of Skullwoods here, looking for those other items. But in the name of DT, having at least an item advantage will allow him to check some things in Kakariko that we haven't seen. But going towards Skullwoods, this makes sense. It's a crystal dungeon. You can do it if you're confident with your, relatively low percent Mothula fight.
Someone 325 getting dead rocked again.
Oh my goodness, and this time not able to move at all. Christo's finding a Quake in Skullwoods, which I believe is the second item.
That feels right. I think he's done checking all locations there anyway. Possibly unless you skipped, some sort of cutscene room or something I didn't notice. But in any case, heading off to loot the Thieves Town area, Dark Kakariko. No, yeah, I guess an item in that room is a V31 new thing. Used to be only that small key would be in that room, and it was a change to be able to hold an item.
Yeah, that's right. So an advantage of having reverse cleared, as In the Name of DT is doing right now, for instance, is getting that early small key allows them to clear Skullwoods in a different way than you might otherwise be afraid to clear it, because you're worried about having to save and quit to escape the dungeon, which is a possibility. Interesting fact, actually, Christos, I'm sure folks know that Christos is a developer of the game, but also has been a huge proponent of changing that particular chest to no longer be required as a key for many a year. So I'm sure he's quite happy about that. Oh my goodness. In the Name of DT, 1 heart on Mothula, employing some pause buffering strats.
Oh,
nice.
Ooh, my heart was racing. That was a great pause buffering strats there to dodge all. I can't even speak. Wow, it was so good. Very good fight.
Chloe Prower doing a gold B on Moth, switching to Fire Rod now. Also got Moth down with 1.5 hearts. This is some pretty good low percent moth action we're getting to see here. Yeah, those pause buffering strats, I mean, it's a nice safety to be able to pull that out, but it does require practice. Like whether it's a bomb jump or it's a boss fight, if you haven't practiced pause buffering in that specific room, then it's really hard to just pull it out of nowhere and still like keep your rhythm of your fight going. So props to them for being able to pull that out in a time of great need.
Yeah, rhythm's a good word to use for that, as you're, there's a little bit of a delay between when you unpause or pause and hit your buttons and can start moving around again and doing all your stuff and making sure everything's aligned right. Christos doing Dig Game and someone doing Stumpy, along with their shovel check that they hadn't done earlier. Nothing progressive from either end there. Someone picking up those 50 rupees from shovel spot just to get up over that 500 number for later.
Someone in Christo's pretty close to his sync here.
I like to call that a high five. One goes in, the other comes out, they pass each other, give each other a high five.
If only there was an emote for that. In the Name of DT, wrapping up in Skullwood, so going to be following probably a similar path to Christos here, but we're going to see some checks maybe that we didn't get to see on Christos' side. Purple Chest, the Smith, the Hammer Pigs, for example. Oh, in the Name of DT, with those Mitts and Mirror deciding to come over to check Graveyard Ledge and King's Tomb. Well, can't check King's Tomb without the boots, but Graveyard Ledge at least. Christos, considering a save and quit, decides to change their mind. I am guessing this is going to be either to check that Bombos tablet because they just got that book, or to go to the pyramid. It's looking like Bombos tablet.
Yeah, it's the direction of a Bombos tablet. Kinda stinks because they just came from that direction, but, can't be helped sometimes.
Yeah, it's a bummer that that's where the book was.
Although, he only's got Fighter Sword, so... Unless it was just a sword that you need to check the tablets, right?
You can read the tablets of the book, but you can't get the item
read.
without Master Sword. Yeah.
Oh, I see what he's doing. Checking the tablet, hopping down over to Agina's place and doing a desert. That makes sense.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because desert is possibly clearable. We'll have to see what the item is on that torch, because Link is barefoot, or whoever character we're playing as. I don't think anybody's playing as Link. Our character standing in for Link today is rather barefoot.
See a bug net on the desert ledge.
Alright, small key in the back room, so we can head over to the right side of desert and check out what's in there. Both Chloe Prower and someone 355 looking through the start half of Thieves Town. Don't think there was anything noteworthy there. And we'll see if they decide to make a deeper dive within the dungeon, considering it is a pendant and not a green pendant.
I think that there are a lot of items up front too, which reduces the chance that you're going to get anything by deciding to full clear it. But Chloe in a little bit of a different position than someone. Chloe not having much to go do except for that east side of Death Mountain, which they might really feel like they have kind of, isolated at this point. But the question is, how long do you leave that before you come back? Do you do everything you can before going back up the mountain, or do you kind of mitigate some risk a little bit and go back up a little bit earlier?
Yeah, that one area being so loaded means that eventually you're gonna have to go up there, and depending on how much you check beforehand is like how much time you could possibly lose versus someone who went up there, or a runner who went up there, not to confuse it with someone 325, the runner on screen, with another runner who went up there and did that early, such as DT or someone 325 that got all the items in that Death Mountain area.
Yeah, the saving grace for Chloe and Christo so far anyway is that we haven't seen any progression behind the myths, so the few checks that have been done with the myths have just cost them time. And it could very well be that once Chloe and Christos get the myths, they're going to feel like not doing those particular myths checks in Village of Outcasts, which might make them go even further behind and instead prioritize crystal dungeons. So it could be that they actually get to save time by not getting the myths still, but yeah, it just depends, like you said, on how much they end up doing between now and then before they go over there.
Blacksmith's just hammering out a piece of heart today. Christos almost got the quick kill on Lamoles with a fire rod, but missed a couple shots, ran out of magic, and had to stab the snacks with the sword. Gets a magic powder as the other item here, and a crystal.
Someone 325 dropping into there, low percent moth fight. Very nice start. Like, very aware of where the spikes are. And oh my goodness, that was so fast with Master Sword and one fire rod shot. That was incredible. That's a lot faster than I would say most people do with Tempered Sword, until they learn all the NMG strats and stuff.
Yeah, I think I saw him drop into the Moth fight, and then I looked away for 1 second to the screen, and Moth was gone. I'm like, oh, okay, that was cool. Chloe doing a nice, quick one-round strat on blind, just getting 20 roops for their trouble.
This is what I feared.
Yeah.
But kind of running out of options now for Chloe. They could decide to go to desert as Christos has done, or they could go back up the mountain. Yeah, Christos doing this. I mean, it makes sense to do this check chained with Pyramid Fairy to do the pyramid play.
I won't be surprised if he goes up to Catfish and then mirrors out to Zora afterwards.
I think that'll tell us a lot. Ooh, a sword on the pyramid ledge. I think it'll tell us a lot about his state of mind, which direction he goes. I would say if he goes to Pod, He's feeling like leaving that Death Mountain until as late as he can. If he goes to, Zora and Catfish, he might be thinking more about, mitigating some risk. And Chloe Power saving Quitty and going to Death Mountain, so they're about to get their mitts as well.
Nothing of note within the Pyramid Fairy's treasure chest, and tossing in a bottle just gets a friendly bee.
In the Name of DT now doing the back end of Thieves Town. It's interesting. I'm a lot more surprised by this from In the Name of DT than Chloe. Chloe, without the mitts, their only real choice was to kind of go back on their choice and go up to Death Mountain, which I can understand why you might go into a Pendant Dungeon that has 2 items in. In the Name of DT, with those mitts, could go to Ice Palace, but really doesn't want to in this case. So I can understand that it's a long dungeon to do. Also, the boss fight's going to take a while with the items that they have, longer than you would want it to take anyway. So that could be their thinking here. Oh, chat's calling out Splash Delete is a possibility here for Christos Owen. I don't know if he is up on the tech, but he does have the items to do it. Actually, I don't think he can. Maybe with Fire Rod, but it would be a really fringe application of it. It's a theoretical possibility here for him to get into fake flippers, but I don't know that he's going to be doing it. We'll see. I guess we'll see. I guess I shouldn't say when I don't know.
Catfish coughing up 50 roops. We'll see what Zora Ledge has. More roops. And heading up to the big kingfish himself and see if he has a scam or not today. Kind of hoping that he has nothing to maybe kind of point Christos towards that direction of heading up the mountain. Oh. Okay. We got some wet shoes.
Oh, I mean, whatever. It's not like those are important or anything.
Alright, so this opens up a couple more little one-off checks for Christos that he can do. And we'll see, it definitely heading to Bonk Rocks first. We'll see if heading in that direction, takes him back up towards the mountain or something? Or where that's gonna lead, depending on what this stuff gets. Nothing there.
Someone 325 doing some flippers checks now. I don't remember. Have we seen? I don't think we've seen the Waterfall Fairy Cave yet.
No, the only person who's been up that way is Christos just now. I don't think anyone else had money for Zora during that time of checking, and then we had 2 people go over to Death Mountain, and then everyone else kind of went to Skull Woods, I believe, something like that. Just in general, no one else had headed up that area. But someone deciding to head into Ice Palace instead, just like you were saying, they have all the stuff to do it. It's going to be a little rough for that boss fight, but it's possible.
And in the Name of DT...
Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. Just thinking about Hammer Cold Stare and kind of shivering.
Oh, yeah. With the Master Sword, at least you can actually damage Cold Stare with your sword, but it's still preferable to use the hammer, but yeah, how many hearts you have is not ideal for sure. In the Name of DT, took quite a trip with that purple chest inside Thieves Town. Oh my goodness, the bow for Summon 325 and Ice Palace. That's some value, but it looks like the seed is funneling us towards Ice Palace regardless, so I gotta pray that doesn't hurt runners too bad, that it's there.
At least it's a crystal dungeon, so they're gonna have to go there eventually. It's just a matter of how long is it gonna take before they decide to pop in there.
And I totally missed that purple chest turn in because I was so distracted by that bow pickup. But judging by the item tracking screen anyway, looks like we didn't get anything there.
Just a heart container, it seems. Which is kind of nice. This seed has been a little bit unhealthy.
Okay, in the name of DT, doing the same thing. So this early Myths play, kind of like shoving them into Ice Palace at around about the same time.
I hope Christos is pleased to see those mitts in that chest there.
Considering how much of the world they've checked before they found them, he could be pleased, he could be upset. So far, though, he hasn't lost much time to missing them, because it turns out that all the other Myths locations were busts. So if he can manage to not go back and check them in the Village of Outcasts, then I think it might be kind of a wash. Well, not exactly, but close to a wash.
Yeah, I think once he finishes checking this area up here, if he went straight to Ice Palace, that really isn't too much time sucked up by waiting to get the mitts this long.
Yeah, and considering that he's fully completed Desert Palace at this point, he's got 3 crystals. I think that would put him neck and neck with In the Name and someone, considering that they did go back and finish Thieves Town, or at least In the Name of DT did.
Unfortunately, Christos is gonna have to backtrack into Hookshot Cave there. Just right now, dipped into Hookshot Cave and then got the hookshot. We'll see if he goes back in and gets those flippers right away. Okay, good. Deciding to take that backtrack and not take the, quote-unquote gamble with just leaving stuff back there and assuming that there's nothing else to have there and moving on with life.
So now we'll see where he goes. Ice Palace is, what someone in the Name of DT are doing is a pretty clear play here, but you could decide to take a huge risk and do something like Swamp Palace or dip Pod without the bow.
That green goo coming in very handy for someone 325 as they be the first one to knock out Cold Stare and get a small key and a crystal.
So at this point, we're just looking for that Bombos medallion, and then we are in go mode. Is that right? No, sorry, the flute as well. I'm wrong.
Yeah, Misery Mire is a crystal. We do need flute power. Yeah, Christos, catching up compared to the other racers on screen here by going straight to Ice Palace versus checking all other one-off lifty locations that open up with nits.
So someone coming back to Zora's domain, they're just completing their flippers checks here before they go on in the world, go on with their life. But I have to imagine that Pod is on their mind. I have something to do next. Oh, someone 325. Oh no! Wait, they're going to desert. Okay. I was like, phew, that screen.
So while we got DT and Christos, DT's gonna be finishing up Cold Stare here in a bit, heading down there. Christos heading through Ice Palace here. Someone opening up Desert, and Chloe saving and quitting and heading somewhere. I'll head a reminder here in chat to follow these 4 wonderful runners. Give them all your support. DT just going for the straight poke him till it's dead strato. Decide not to use that, Did they not pick up Scream Potion from Sick Kid and have 3 other bottles? Because, I mean, there's been a lot of bottles recently. They might not have gotten that one, but if they did, maybe they just didn't want to use it yet. In any case, they had enough health, they could just tank most of Cold Stare's hits and poke him to death.
Yeah, quick fight for deciding to do that with Master Sword. Christos is going to have a lot quicker of a fight with that Tempered Sword, especially with all that NMG muscle memory coming into play.
It's looking like Flute is going to be, capital letters, that one item this seed. There's a decent handful of dungeons that we haven't gotten into yet, Nobody's gone into Pod yet, Swamp is untouched, Turtle Rock's untouched. Flute can be in, any of those dungeons there.
Yeah, this is the point at which, I talk about like chest tightening in a big qualifier race like this, every choice matters. This is the point at which you're like, oh my god, please, don't give me choices that aren't obvious. Don't make me think about my route.
Also, just realizing and doing some pattern matching here. We also need Bombos for a go mode.
Yeah, Bombos.
No one's found that yet, and that is the entrance for Turtle Rock.
Alright, so Christos is going to show us a much quicker version of Cold Stare, I'm going to imagine, here with that Tempered Sword.
You see, because the sword is red, the sword must be hot, correct? Therefore, sword will cut through cold thing more fast, correct?
That makes sense to me.
Either that or because the sword is red, it moves faster, because all things that are red move faster, and therefore cuts faster. One of those two. I don't know. In any case, Cold Stare's down.
And in the name of DT, being the first one to be heading into pod. It's very, very probable. There are still some one-off locations left, but it is very, very probable that progression is either here in pod or in swamp or both. So this is going to be an important few checks we're about to see.
So Chloe, Prower heading up, doing that back-to-back catfish and Zora area check.
Christos Owen right before.
Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're about to say the same thing. Right behind in the name of DT, heading into pod. So yeah, it just goes to show that like even though DT had those mitts really quite early, compared to Christos, it did kind of not force them, but enticed them into some checks that Christos may get to skip in the end. We'll see. But I should also point out here that DT did do an entire additional dungeon over Christos, but Christos has also done Desert Palace over, so maybe, yeah, I would say they're just about even in the end. I mean, in terms of if you consider those dungeons required. I'm not making much sense. The truth is Christos is ahead because he's ahead of Crystals, and they're both in pod. Yeah, it just goes to show that like getting those mitts early isn't always an advantage.
Yeah, it's highly, at least I feel that it's highly likely that Christos probably isn't going to go and complete Thieves Town, so that just kind of puts DT and also Chloe Prower slightly behind just because they did clear that early on looking for stuffs. And get a King's Tomb check going on down here. What's in this chest? Just a piece of heart. Yeah, well, DT and Christos have an even dungeon count. Well, it's like, DT, Chloe, and Christos are those kind of scattered a little bit differently. In terms of DT and Christos, Christos has one more crystal dungeon completed, so that kind of puts him slightly smidgy ahead, I'd say.
Yeah, it's like not race ending, but it is still impressive and interesting that the game is still so close despite that like early game divergence that could have been quite important. Looks like DT missed the first hammer yump, so going for a second shot here. But at 2 hearts really doesn't want to miss it.
You're being extra careful, almost like capeful, because there's a cape on screen there in the big chest. Extra careful to set that a second one up there. Oh, nice sank heart.
Thanks, game. I think in the name of DT needed a little bit of love after that frustrating hammer jump.
I'd call that a bit of love. Flute! We got flute! Flute in Palace of Darkness there.
So that does unlock Misery Mire and 3 other overworld locations. So it could be that we do get to avoid Swamp Palace. And someone joining us in pod here, so we're all kind of converging. Chloe wrapping up some of these mitts checks. I think that their mindset is that, you know, wanting to mitigate that risk in case there is progression here in these items. They know that they will have missed it from not getting the mitts on the mountain. So this makes a lot of sense in a qualifier setting. This is a play that I would guess that Chloe would not make in a 1v1. But in a qualifier setting, you don't, you know, really want to take the risk that that you're going to have isolated something so easy as like hammer pigs. Both Christos and In the Name of DT converging on Helma. DT's got the decidedly more NMG fight here.
It'll be interesting to see the difference in time it takes, you know, how much Christos catches up just by having a, you know, a little bit different fight here.
Yeah, with that better sword. Depending on RNG, that phase 2 can be like surprisingly long. Oh, but he's going for some hammer strats here, but the hitbox is really difficult, so missing the first 3 hits. Decides to opt for sword strats.
I think he might have kind of mixed it up there and switched between the two, because, I don't know, just something went a little bit faster than just pure sword strats. A lot of bosses just dropping 20 rupees. It's like all the bosses wanted to go out to lunch together and have like a boss meeting, but, you know, got caught up in having to work.
Christos getting a lot faster of a second phase there, not having to worry about hammer strats or master sword, that tempered sword. So they're almost neck and neck now coming out of the dungeon, with Christos still a crystal dungeon ahead. A part of that is also just the frustrating hammer yump that happened there, and all those many pause buffers and stuff. So that did also give Christos a little bit of time to catch up inside the dungeon. Christos saving, quitting to Sank. Oh right, he's activating the flute. Like, I say that like I'm about to have some epiphany about strategy here, but you're activating the flute.
No, that's definitely the next thing to do. Activate flute, head down to Meyer area, and check out what medallions needed for that area, and as well as checking those overworld locations there.
Someone 325 getting their flute just now.
And Chloe Prower making their way through Ice Palace. Gonna
Looks
have
like
an
an-
easy time with it, with this tempered sword.
Oh, nice dash through those fireballs. That is hard to time. You don't have a very big window. It's like a frame or two. I didn't quite catch Misery Mire. It looked like Ether to me, but it was such a quick check on DT's side. Yeah, Christos confirming for us that it is Ether. He's not going to check the Mire Shed first, though. He's going straight in the dungeon. Makes me a little bit nervous, to be honest, because it's a lot faster to check the 2 items inside the shed than it would be to check items on the way. But it could very well be that Vitreous has your Go Mode Bombos. What I'm nervous about is, do you forget that you still need Bombos for Turtle Rock?
Yeah, in this case it turns out okay, as DT did check the Meyer Shed, and there's nothing in there.
But if he ends up Go-moding Meyer and missing Bombos, that could be I shouldn't assume. I shouldn't assume a bad thing about Christos' own routing here. It's just, you know, makes me nervous. These qualifier races, like, they can be so intense, so much more intense even than a 1v1 can be. I think just like the number of bodies in the room and what's at stake, you know, what's on the line. Christos and DT not having raced many races yet, their scores could go in a lot of different directions. Oh, big key. And Christos is going straight for Vidi. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So they found one item, found a big key. This is a play that you might make even if you weren't in go mode, right? Like, which he's not, but I'm just still thinking about the possibility of like, oh my God, you know, it's back of my mind. Why didn't he check Mireshed? But this is a play you still might make in a situation where you are aware that you're missing one item. Because if Vidi has it, or even if they don't, you save a lot of time by skipping the left side of Mire. And it's just one item.
Yeah, just one item. It's always the rough one. Someone 325 knocking out Cold Stare easily with that Tempered Sword, also making that play over into the eastern side, going into eastern itself, first off. I guess going to clear this for the green pendant?
Oh, interesting. So it could be someone 325 maybe is wanting to gamble a little bit here, like feeling a little bit behind and wanting this green pendant turn-in. So not many people know this, but you can actually flip those crystal switches in Mire without doing the spooky Mire glitch. Christos showing us that old school method of doing that. And now he's doing a very NMG Mire fight, or Vidi fight, and going very well so far. Yeah, and gets it the quick kill.
Yeah, beautiful.
Nice.
Just enough hearts to do that.
And doesn't get the items. So do they go back in? Do they check Mireshed? What's gonna happen here?
And DT gonna open up and head into Mire as well. Okay. Yeah, Christos is heading out.
So yeah, it looks like he chose to isolate the item in Mire. Because it is such a long check, it's not very probable that that will be Bombos. If it is, of course, it really sucks, but he's taking the risk, and I'm a fan of that. Like, it's a good idea to play it safe in the qualifiers, to mitigate the risks that you're taking, but in this case, it's almost more of a risk to commit to full clearing Mire, and on the off chance that it has your go mode item.
Someone 325 beat up Armos and got a mushroom out of that. That opens up one more check that could possibly hold our medallion.
Ooh, I forgot there was another item left in Eastern in addition to the green pendant.
Alright, here goes Christos back into Mire to check that leftover location. After finding nothing in Shed or Checkerboard Cave.
Yeah, I guess thinking about it, their option is either go back in for that one item in Mire or pretty much do what someone's done and go back to Eastern, which also sounds bad, or go into Swamp Palace. So you've got nothing but bad choices at this point. So In the Name of DT was also clearing Mire a bit. They are not going to the basement, however. So they could be doing a similar thing as Christos here. When they don't get the item on the right side of Mire, they may choose just to go to the boss. And there is the Bombos medallion.
There it is.
A good thing he didn't isolate that, as I was theorizing he was planning on. But this could be interesting for In the Name of DT. If he chooses to just go to Vidi now, he may end up isolating the left side because he's checked so many more chests just to come back in to do the cutscene chest potentially. Ugh. This is. Yeah. I am very nervous for DT here.
Yeah, so that was a 1 hour, about 1 hour, 10 minute, 40 second. We'll say that Christos Owen in go mode.
So chat asking which chests DT has done. I believe that he's done all of them except for the 2 chests on the left side. The one where Bombos is, obviously, and the drop-down chest. So yeah, he's done the net chests, all the other chests in the dungeon. It's just those on the left. It's kind of hard to come back in, knowing that you're probably going to have to watch the cutscene. Someone325 catching up with us here in Misery Mire. Chloe just about to get their flute as well, so they'll be shortly behind as well. And this will be an interesting Vitreous fight too. With Master Sword, it's going to be a lot tougher. It like ramps up the challenge by quite a lot.
We do have Cape.
Oh yeah, that's true. Well, never mind then. Opting to go for some dash strats here rather than slashing.
I got a good number of hits on the eyes. A little low on health. Gonna have to take the rest a little bit slower. And hope that you don't get zapped and don't get the eyes running into you.
I think DT still has a green goo, actually.
Yeah, he didn't use it on Cold Stare. If he does have it. I can't remember which bottles he's picked up.
Down to 1 heart. Oh my goodness, okay. Through the tough part. Now in the moment of truth, does DT go back inside the dungeon? I really hope so. This is DT's very first qualifier race, and it always feels nasty to make a huge blunder on the first. And I shouldn't call it a blunder, but to get unfortunate on your first race here. And is mirroring and fluting out potentially, or maybe just checking checkerboard first. I mean, Christos did leave to check these overload locations and then come back in.
Have him take do it a little slower way around because they already checked the shed. So headed the other direction. All right. Okay, now go back in. Don't jump off the cliff.
Yeah, it's such a tough call to decide to go back in here, and I need to clarify because I said it was a blunder. You know, it's easy to think about it that way, but honestly, this play makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does. You got 1 item left versus locations that have multiple items. You kind of go with your gut and density.
Yeah. Yeah, and as I was saying before, like, you know, qualifiers, it's good to play it safe, but there is such a thing as playing it so safe that you're not safe anymore. So this is a situation where it's very, very probable Bombos is going to be in Swamp Palace. And, you know, the variance between missing Bombos on left side and Mire and the risk, you know, the math, I think, if you did the math, would work out that Swamp is actually the safer play here. It's just unfortunate that it's not actually the correct play.
Right. It looks like a blunder because we know it's wrong, but the runners don't know it's wrong, so they're going with the most probability of chances here. And in terms of, taking one location that could take a long time to get to versus one that's going to take a shorter time to do and has more options for hitting that item when it's an item that, could be anywhere. Is, typically better to take the chance to get the one with the more locations in it.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think that DT's going to full clear Swamp, and that's going to put them like 6 or 7 minutes slower than they otherwise would be, but that's still going to be a pretty dang good time for them in the end. So this isn't going to be a bad first qualifier for them, is my guess. We'll have to see how this shakes out. Christos, meanwhile, heading towards Trinex. And then to GT, the dream.
Someone 325 having easier pity fight than DT did just from that extra sword upgrade. Going for combo strats of hitting it in the eye and with arrows and smacking it with that sword for their crystal. Qualifier are still making their way through Palace of Darkness, heading through this basement area here. Oh, someone 325 did run out of arrows, so they did have to poke the eye with the sword a couple times. Because you can't fire your sword from your bow, unfortunately.
Yeah, hopefully they'll patch that back into the ROM eventually.
So I blinked, and Christos Owen cleared Turtle Rock. Obviously go-moded it, and Trinex just kind of whimpered over and fell over. Begged for mercy. And heading into Ganon's Tower now. We're not officially running the Big Key game. Of course, you feel free to throw your numbers into chat and get, a good feeling in your heart when you pick the right number. Kern, what do you think? Where do you think the Big Key is going to be this time?
Well, I always guess 24, and I have won once with that guess, so I'm going to stick to 24.
Wait, what? I'm trying to do the math, even though this wasn't supposed to be a math stream, but we done math anyway.
Yeah, I remember what happened last time we tried to math. That's Frostbite calling me out. I wasn't actually guessing 24 when I won. I was talking about something else, and the bot picked up my guess. So Christos heading, it looks like he did Hope Chest, and he's coming left, showing his veterancy yet again. This GT meta route has fallen out of favor as of late. But Christos, he's like he's a hipster, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, not in a bad way, but I mean, like, he's like the original. So, and gets rewarded for it too with the Big Key.
I think that would have been number 6 from that route, or is that 7 or 5?
Well, was that the third? I think that was the third chest in the Dark Magician, right? Or is that the fourth chest? Oh, see, now I wasn't watching.
It was the bottom right chest, and he went clockwise from the bottom left. So that was the fourth chest in that room.
So then 7, yeah.
Told you guys, math is hard. Never math. Take it from me. So Christos, being a veteran player, probably not going to be opening anything else in the tower, so I'll be curious to see where that second bow slash, the silver's upgrade, as bows are now progressive, is going to be where that was hiding.
So in the name of DT, having taken out Argus, is now going left side swamp because really they don't have much choice. They can go back on their gamble of Mire. They can go into Eastern Palace for those 2 items. Spike Cave, there might be one other one-off check I'm forgetting, but I don't have much choice. My guess is it's such a risk that they've taken to not check, left side of Mire. I would be surprised if they end up full clearing before they decide to come back. Nice land mode 2 fight from Christos.
Spike and Mimic Cave have not been checked, as once they got the cape, no one really wanted to go back up towards Death Mountain areas. It was pretty much cleared out otherwise, and Christos and someone 325 just both went straight into Turtle Rock since they were in go mode.
Yeah, in the name of DT without that Bombos, though. Probably not going to check Mimic Cave unless they somehow still don't have a sword. I can't remember where the other sword is that they're missing right now.
Did they check Pyramid?
I can't remember. In the name of DT, getting the bad news that it is not in Swamp after all. This is where, your stomach starts to sink.
Alright, looks like DT is going to be doing Pyramid Fairy, so hopefully they'll pop over to the side of the pyramid and get their Tempered Sword upgrade. And Christos is at the top of the tower already. How'd that happen? Just beasting it up there.
Yeah, that was an impressive climb. Let's see what Agatu thinks about him, though. Yeah, it's taking some time off. Have you still got it, Chris? There's 2. I think that counted as 1. It was so close together.
Yeah, the geometry isn't being too kind right in this first 3 phases
Ooh.
here.
Oh, so that was a double on the second. So
yeah.
Really nice 3-phase, 3-cycle fight. Where do you go, DT? Where do you go from here? Christos now dropping into the Ganon fight.
Just as someone 325 finishes off our 3-headed turtle snack friend Trinax, getting their last crystal.
Christos just barely getting the 1-in-1, the Tempered Sword. Got a little bit hit by the fire bats there.
Yeah, down to
Was
2.5
doing fine.
hearts. I mean, I got confidence in him that he can get through the rest of it without getting hit or hugged.
Oh, going for the early spin. So probably spin to Fire Rot. Oh my... Wait, what? Did he just get 2 spins in before the torch glitch?
I was a little bit busy concentrating on him not getting hit by that fire bat, but...
Jesus Christos. I think he did.
Alright, DT making that hobo check. Chloe Prower heading into Turtle Rock just a second ago as someone 325 is climbing up the tower, and Christos takes down the big pig.
Beautiful phase 4 from Christos. You know, he's taken literally 50 years in retirement, comes back, a beautiful race, taking 5th place, official SRL time of 1:25:47. Get your GGs in chat. So to just catch up on who's finished here, we have Activoker finished first with 1:22:26, Korak in second with 1:23:19, Pryor in third with 1:23:57, and then Salty Fry in fourth with 1:25:23. So those are our top 5. Christos is in the top 5. His finish time will influence the averages of everybody else's points that they get from the match, and it should be around a 1:23 average finish time.
So it turns out that whole time we were talking about DT not using that green potion, turns out he never checked Sick Kid, and those had the other 3 bottles that were found. So that makes sense.
Aha. Oh, is someone 325 out of arrows, so they're going for the Mimic clips here. By doing 1-frame inputs that you can use a pause buffer to help perform, you can clip the mimics into the wall to off-screen them if you are short on arrows or you don't have the bow.
DT making that, what do you call that thing? Pedestal. That's what you call it. Pedestal check. Seeing if, you know, that's where Mr. Bombos is. But unfortunately, just a little piece of love there. Oh, you got it. Someone 325 getting that clip, and Mimics kind of take a slide to the wall.
Now can finally get that arrow pod in this next room. And continue up the tower. In the name of DT, coming back for that King's Tomb check. So yeah, I think at this point, you gotta hope that you didn't isolate, you know, Bombos Medallion on left side Mire, because then you're Swamp Palace behind. So again, in a 1v1, this makes sense. You know, you don't want to gamble against yourself, but even in a qualifier, it makes sense, because it's like if you have done that, this is probably going to be one of your worst times anyway. So might as well stick with it. And it looks like he is indeed coming back for Eastern Palace to get literally all the items that he can before he has to face the music about left side Mire.
Yeah, from this he's gonna get the mushroom and a green pendant, so I won't be surprised if we get to learn what those 2 items are. Chloe Prower getting that laser bridge key to open up the last part of Turtle Rock here. Someone 325 knocking out Land Molus 2.
Gotta be careful with their magic here. I wonder if they have a pot. We do have the stun drop of the full magic though, if need be. But they also get a full magic drop, so feels good, man. Chloe Prower taking down the 3-headed beast. It's going to be heading to GT very shortly. And we're now joined by Christos Owen.
Oh,
Good game.
yeah, I'm actually really happy with that. I didn't think I was going to win based on some of my routing decisions, but I thought I did well enough to place like somewhere near the top. So really happy with fifth, and really happy with my execution this one. This was a pretty clean game for me, much better than the first. So overall,
Yeah.
happy days.
Just from some of your choices that you made in like what one-offs you didn't check, and also not clearing Thieves Town fully, is what pulled you ahead early on, and then just kind of running into all those right checks after getting the mitts and the quicker cold stare fight, and heading back into Meyer to get that Bombos medallion. Sorry, was kind of what pulled you ahead from the other racers, I'd say.
Well, and that some sick execution. Did I see this correctly? Did you get 2 spins in the 4th phase before you got the torch glitch?
I did. It's super risky.
That is.
I don't really know why I went for it. I always go for the first one, and then if he then warps near the torch, I usually go for the second one as well.
I didn't even know that was possible. So you got to have good RNG to do that?
Yeah, like I would never go for that if he gives you a different... the only other one that's possible was if he goes top left, but then you're relying on the timing with the fire rod, which makes it extremely, even more terrifying. So
that was super cool. Well, yeah, so folks, coming out of 40 years of retirement, Christos Owen dropping into the tournament.
Yeah, it's been a hot while since I've really played any competitive matches. I think my last SRL races were the spoiler log tournament back from February, but the actual kind of open mode stuff, it's been I think 15 months since I've raced. I did a couple of the previous qualifiers to warm up, after they happened, just practice. But yeah, it feels good to be getting back into racing. It's good fun.
Yeah, well, nice start. This is your second race, right? So far in the tournament or qualifiers?
Yeah, that's right. We don't need to talk about the first one. The first one was not good at all. I played the first seed really aggressively, whereas this one I played a lot more conservatively. I made sure I cleared out all my initial sphere checks before kind of going too deep into the game. I did think about going to East Death Mountain as soon as I found the hammer from Easton. I was thinking if it did end up being the answer, it was a pretty small time loss to go back and check it now. And if it wasn't the answer, and if it was the answer, then you'd stand to save quite a bit of time over doing the entire Dark World League first. But I decided against that play, and I think ultimately that's probably what separated me from kind of the top 4.
Well, In the Name of DT actually was fortunate enough to have the mitts the first time they went up there, although they did lose time because they had to check mitts locations in Village of Outcasts that you got to skip. But unfortunately, you were pretty close to each other. I think that you gained a bit of time, partially just off of execution over them. But they decided to isolate the Bombos medallion on the left side of Meyer, which is what we were thinking you were doing at first as well.
Well, I nearly did. So yeah, in hindsight, and if I was going to redo my whole Maya region and Maya dungeon section, I would not do what I did. I would make sure I cleared the Overlord first before going in. But this time, after I left the dungeon after beating Vitreous, there was one item left. I thought, okay, I'll check Maya Shed and checkerboard. And then at that point, Bomber's medallion is just as likely to be sat inside Maya as it is anywhere else in the game. So I didn't really have anywhere better to go at that point. So it's okay, well, if this is the answer, I need to make sure I go, basically, if I don't check it now, I'm last occasioning it. So
yeah, so DT didn't, and is just now headed back into Meyer after clearing out Swamp and Eastern Palace. And speaking of clearing, someone 325 has just finished beating up Ganon.
16th place, the official SRL time of 1:34.47. So with the average likely being 123 for the seed, that puts them with a solid 90 or so. We just talked about how terrible we are at math. So maybe Christos can back us up. I mean, he does have some specialty in that department. But that's a really respectable finish there from the... Yeah, that's what we were theorizing is like it's almost just as much of a risk or maybe even more of a risk to go back in to check that one item on the left side than it is to isolate it because I mean, it's such a long check to go back for. And you
Well,
you know, you should play safely in a qualifier, but that seems so safe that it's not safe almost, you know.
I mean, well, to start with, unless GT routed it differently, like I didn't know it was on the left side. It could have been in the big chest or in lobby or something.
Oh right. Yeah, for you there was all the chests because you went straight to Vidi after the big key.
Yeah, exactly. But even so, I feel like in a qualifier, you don't want to leave like crystal dungeons with things left. I was speaking to Andy after the race, and I know he cleared out Fuse Town entirely. For like that reason, it's like it's a qualifier race. We're going to play it a little differently, more conservative, just full clear areas. Because the aim isn't necessarily to win; it's just to place high and don't screw yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was an interesting seed. I think as soon as I hit Death Mountain, it was just follow the items, follow the mids to the dungeons, to the crystals you can beat, and you just find everything you need on your path, pretty much. So if you opt for kind of that strategy, which is just like go to beatable crystals ASAP, which is, in my opinion, one of the best strategies, then you shouldn't have had too many difficulties with it.
Yeah, ABC, always be clearing.
I like that. That's good.
Oh, have you not heard that one?
No, that's the first time I've heard that. ABC.
Oh yeah, I made it up. I totally made it up.
Someone 325, you've joined us in chat here. GG on your finish. What do you think of that always be clearing motto that we just brought up?
Hey, GG's. I think it's a pretty good motto.
Well played, someone.
Yeah, GG's. I thought I had pretty good routing for the seed, but could have done a little bit better on execution.
I definitely think one interesting thing about this, at least for how I routed it, was checking Pyramid Ferry at like 35 minutes in. Was, yeah, if that had been something, I think that definitely could have given me a pretty big advantage.
It's always interesting when two early easy dungeons end up being those crystals, because it kind of leads you around there, and you were also pretty early picking up that pyramid sword as well, kind of giving you an advantage in parts as well.
Yeah, someone, I believe that you didn't have the tempered sword for like a few of those bosses.
Yeah, I basically put off Desert Palace until I found the boots, so I knew I could clear it. Didn't want to walk there and then get stuck.
Yeah. So you
also,
did.
I had other things to do, like clear Crystal Dungeon, so it was pretty good.
Yeah, so it was fun to see like a lot of like low percent boss fights though. Lower percent.
Right.
That's always super fun.
So someone, this is your fourth qualifier, correct?
Yes, it is.
So like some back of the napkin math, your math might be better. You've probably already done it too, but I think you're somewhere like in the 90 point range for this finish, which is pretty great.
Yeah, somewhere along there, I think.
So this will bump you up a few places, I would imagine. You're currently sitting at 83rd. Do you have like a goal of where you would like to land for after the qualifier phase?
Not really. I just wanted to do good in each qualifier race, and then I'll end up where I end up.
Well, looking like you're like on a trajectory to get to that top half. So best of luck to you. Are you going to do a fifth race as well?
Yeah, my first qualifier race wasn't that good. I like last location in item, so I'm gonna do one more to try to fix that.
Chloe on Ganon here. Just want to call out a little bit low on magic. I don't know if they have an extra pot. They might even need a triple here. I haven't been counting as well as I should be because I've been talking at the same time. And we all know how good I am at those two things at once. Okay, they've got a pot. We're good. False alarm, folks.
Of course, only needed one more hit after that last torch. It always kind of feels that way. But good, solid finish there.
Yeah, there's a few things which I'm misremembering certain things, and like I am rusty with how the logic works, even though I wrote most of it initially. I was convinced that Pyramid Fairy was boots locked because Desert was the crystal, and it didn't really occur to me that the small key or big key wasn't on the torch.
Yeah, there was a compass on the torch, so I don't think it was boots locked.
Yeah, and I made a comment about going, like when I was going to Pyramid Fairy, I was like, this is out of logic because I don't have boots, and boots are probably locked really deep in the sea, so I'm not too happy about this. And then it was nothing, and I was like, oh, typical, it's really bad. But that at least pushed me to then do Catfish into Zora, and then I found boots like 2 minutes later, so I was like, oh, okay, well, now it's in logic anyway. And then I was like, wait, no, it was always in logic, because I didn't even need the boots. Just like actually starting to remember how this randomizer works.
Yeah, it's a hard thing when you take a break for a bit. But now joined by Chloe Prower as well. Good game, Chloe.
Hey, GG. That was fun. I guess if you God Visioned Eastern before going up to Death Mountain, that would have been a really good play.
Yeah, you and Christos in the same boat, having gone up Death Mountain without the mitts. You know, it's interesting because you had the potential also to save time by not getting mitts, because then you like maybe don't need to check the hammer pigs and the purple chest, but it's really hard to like not check them in a qualifier setting, you know. So yeah, I just want to get your thoughts on that. Like, what compelled you to come back to Village of Outcasts after getting the mitts to check those overworld locations?
I've been liking Overworld a lot lately, especially in version 31. I feel like before dungeons, Overworld is usually where most of the things have been. I've seen Purple Chest like a lot in both the qualifiers and the seeds in between them. So that's mainly just personal bias for the most part. I mean, yeah, getting all those one-off checks before doing Knight's Palace cost me a significant amount of time, I imagine. Because there was nothing in any of it. Couldn't even get, like, silvers for, you know, just for make things easy. And then I cleared Thieves Town, too, and that was also useless. The only thing in a pendant dungeon was Hammer, and that was super early.
Yeah, that's a tough one, because, like, if you don't... You know, you think about the items that you leave behind in a qualifier, and they just bug you the whole race. You know, even those mitts items, because you know you might be thinking like, well, I didn't get the mitts when I was up on the mountain the first time. Somebody could have. If there's progression here, you know, I don't want to take the risk that they could be like so far ahead of me.
Right, that's kind of what I was thinking. Is that the mitts checks were in a fairly low sphere as it was.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to leave that for long. I mean, because I was missing a bunch of items that locked one location. Missing Flute that locked the Mire area, I was missing bombos that locked Turtle Rock. And I would have gone into Turtle Rock at 6 hearts when I was up there. I was ready for it. I was ready, like, Fighter Sword, Turtle Rock, let's do this thing.
Oh, the dream. In the name of DT, having found their Bombos medallion in the last possible location, is now in doing the gauntlet climb. I'm at 144 though with this seed. Like I said, like it's gonna suck to have to have done all of Swamp Palace, everything else in the overworld, and then have to come back to Mire. But like still, they're gonna get a very respectable time, like for having 100% cleared the game. But this seems to be the way of it, though. Like, a lot of folks, I mean, Christos reporting here, someone reporting that, like, you know, first races, there's something about them where you get bad times.
Yeah, I mean, Qualifier is... I imagine they said it too, but you play Qualifier differently anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't... You're not playing really to win. You're just playing to not lose.
It is a really interesting difference, though, between 1v1s and group matches. And like I've theorized different tournament formats where it's not consisting of 1v1 races. It consists of small clusters of group races, and you get points for your position rather than like 1v1 races all the time, best of 3. But it's just really hard to like logistically work out things to get that possible when you have people all over the world in different time zones. So like getting people together for a race like that would just be too difficult.
Yeah.
Would be fun though.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Sure.
We're doing an AGDQ, just compress it down to a really like a short tournament. No sleep required.
Alright, your race is scheduled for 3 in the morning.
Yeah. Sorry, no, you can't change it. But I'm hoping that people enjoy the later stages of this tournament, where there's a few different levers to pull to make some of the matches a little different. We had a lot of feedback from like the competitive community when we gave our first idea out, and like made quite a lot of substantial changes. So hopefully the changes won't be too volatile, so it will keep things competitive, but also be interesting for people.
That was really great to see. I like that you mentioned volatility, because we, for folks who might not be aware of what we're discussing here, in the groups and bracket stages of this tournament, you get to select from a few different variations on the randomizer, which is an idea that we had, that we implemented in the last tournament. There were some game modes that were more variant than others, which meant that if you were up against an opponent you felt was significantly stronger than you, you would choose the game that was a lot more random, so that you had more of a chance of winning. So I appreciate the choices that have been made to reduce that variance. Is there any like particular combinations that y'all are looking forward to in the groups and bracket stages?
Well, I was looking forward to Boss Randomizer, but they kind of got rid of that. So,
sorry.
I still like how Reduced Crystal GT is implemented. I mean, the 4 was a little much because it was your go mode item is always in GT. But 5 and 6 have enough garbage fill that it seems like it'll make it, it'll make it that okay, it could be here, but it also could not be here. But you still have to do it.
Yeah, I think lower crystal requirements for like just in general for either the goal or GT access is super interesting. For like casual play especially, like I find it really fun to just beat up a seed with unknown requirements and find, oh, it's 3 crystals for Ganon and it's over in like 45 minutes. It's nice to be able to have shorter games. But for the tournament specifically, one of my favorite changes that I'm looking forward to making is randomizing maps and compasses outside of dungeons, because that adds quite a like it affects strategy quite a lot, not knowing which dungeons are crystals and pendants, obviously until you find the maps.
yeah, it's kind of a key sanity feel without the keys. That'd be pretty interesting.
And it obviously changes the amount of items in dungeons as well. So I have to imagine it will kind of, people tend to clear dungeons more than the overworld, since that's probably what will end up happening with the algorithm. But
Just want to draw our focus here back to the Ganon fight in Phase 3 for In the Name of DT, and look at their timer. If I'm reading this correctly, it's hard to tell with the font, but I believe that's a 1:49:33 that they're currently at. So like,
Yep.
Phase 3 of Ganon at 1:49, having full cleared the game with, some double dips in dungeons, I think just speaks to the level of execution that DT has.
You know what they say? Every seed is sub 2 hours.
Every seed is not sub 2 hours.
okay, I'll be honest, I have no idea what DT's timer really says. Like, what is that font?
It's the Mr. Saturn font from Earthbound.
Oh, okay. See, I've never played Earthbound. I was lost on me completely.
Oof. Sorry.
That's just my ignorance.
Soaking some fire bat hits, trying to get close to get these triples in. It has a lot of health to be able to tank with, so this is like totally fine to get right up in Ganon's business. This looks like a good triple setup here. Nice.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Oh, this is a hard one. That nailed it. Oh my god.
That was a
Nice
great
final
fight.
hit. Yeah. That is a really hard pattern to get that hit on.
I hope he's not too upset.
Maybe we'll find out if he comes join us. Finishing official SRL time, 51st place with 151.04, which, if my math isn't too bad, is like approximately 0.8-ish? Or I don't know, something like that.
I think it'll be around the border, maybe a little under the cutoff point.
I'll trust a math tutor. But now joining us is in the name of DT. GG, DT.
Hey, thanks.
GG's, dude.
Hey, yo, thanks, Chris.
So because you're on your stream's on a stream delay, I'm sure you've been listening a little bit to the commentary as you're waiting to drop in here. But yeah, we're just really curious about obviously the ultimate decision to leave Bombos on not to leave Bombos, but to leave an item in Mire.
Yeah, it would have been an entirely different thing if I'd intentionally left Bombos there. I don't know, at that point, let's go back to like the 40-minute mark or so. I was strongly considering going into Ice Palace, but just a little bit nervous, only having like 6 hearts at the time. And of course, having the bow there would have made that play really, really good that early. But instead, I wound up going for a little bit more health, wound up full clearing Thieves, found nothing there. So I think by the time that I was going through Mire, it's like I'm about to finish my 6th crystal. I know that all of Swamp is available, Pyramid Fairy, Catfish, so there's still relative density elsewhere. And it's like, okay, maybe I can afford to just skip a little bit here. Of course, then that didn't work out. Went to Swamp, decided to go back in there because, okay, if I try to skip 1 item in 2 dungeons, I'm really shooting myself in the foot. Yeah, so that was kind of my reasoning behind it. It's like I was feeling a little bit behind when I was in Mire the first time, and I just wanted to get the crystal and just hope that one item, that one single item wasn't going to be it.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, DT, like, I'm right there with you. That's exactly... I like that play a lot, is what I'm trying to say. Because I think most of the time, if you were to average it out, time you gain, what time you lose by skipping 1 item in Mire when you have so many other items left to check, I think that you would win the vast majority of the time. So it makes total sense to me.
It's just one of those things where that's randomizer. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The way that I routed Mire, like I was on the east side of the dungeon, clearing about everything I could, had the big key, and it's like I just wanted to go straight to Vitreous. I didn't want to go all the way through, risk sitting through the cutscene chest. It's like that was just a lot of time I didn't want to put into it. But no, it is what it is. I felt like everything else was pretty solid. I need a new controller badly. My buttons stick and my D-pad is like half broken, but I felt like execution was pretty good. I don't play this that often anymore, so I'm not upset. It's kind of about what I was expecting. I just know that it could have gone better. This could have easily, I see the times, this could have easily been the 80, 90-minute seed.
Yeah, I mean, but 151, you might have heard me saying this right before you hopped in, but 151 having full cleared the entire game and including like some dungeon double dips is pretty impressive, though, and is a testament to execution.
Oh,
so
thank you.
We've all been talking about the curse of the first run in the qualifiers here. That seems to be true for quite a lot of people. So I hope that this, portends many great things in your future.
We shall see. There's only about a week of this left, and I'm kind of jumping in at the tail end. I wasn't sure for a while, but we'll see.
Yeah, I've jumped in at the tail end right there with you. I was like, should I join? Yeah, let's give it a go. It's been a while. But yeah, like from what you said, that's super unlucky that the one thing you did isolate and were okay isolating just ended up being the item that you needed. That is just purely unlucky.
I mean, I guess there's a kind of a lesson too. It's just don't skip too much. Don't skip the wrong things. I mean,
I think
in
just
some
for
situations, it's
qualifiers.
okay to play a bit safer.
Yeah. But yeah, one thing I did want to mention to you, Ken, is before this, I was like, okay, I should do some practice. What should I do? And I spent a couple minutes teaching myself how to do Kern jump.
Yeah, we saw you practicing the Harapot clip as well.
Oh, that was learning. I've never done it before, so I was watching a YouTube video. Yeah, like
Oh,
11th hour learning and practice.
Nice.
I
Yeah, we
managed
were
to get it down
theorizing.
just in time.
Oh, that's not. Yeah, we saw you like practicing right before the stream started, and yeah, we were theorizing too about like when you're heading to Catfish. He could technically splash delete with the items that they have, and I was like, you guys don't know how long Christos has been in retirement.
Yeah, I haven't looked at any of that stuff. I know it exists. It's there, and one day I'll read through what any of it means. But like,
Harapot is never not useful.
yeah, that's something which I was like, okay, I could probably learn this in a couple minutes.
I think it's always a time save unless you actually skip a required item.
Yeah, I think so too.
That sounds about right for any sort of like little minor trick in this game. It saves time as long as you're not missing something.
Well, it also has a low chance of actually missing something. Like, if you get the big key, it's still even faster to do Harapot than it is to go the vanilla route.
Well, it's something like 50-50, right? You either miss it or you don't.
Well, yeah, but
it checks out. That
Yeah.
checks out.
Yeah,
Math tutor.
I'm just.
Well, good games all. Did you have any other questions you wanted to get out there, Karaoke? Oh, I'm sorry. I just saw one from Relkin, who's helping us to stream here today. Curious about, there was some interesting stuff going on in chat about the Misery Mire key logic and what that might imply about where the item was in Misery Mire.
Oh yeah. So I thought, since I already found the big key, then there must be 2 items Firelock that are not small keys. So that's a little bit why I went there. Was it before going Vitreous?
You could infer that there weren't small keys on the left side. Not necessarily items. It could have been a map or compass as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just couldn't be a small key on the left side.
I actually never made until you just said that. Okay, so what I should have done when I went back into Maya is go to the left side. If I was
Yeah.
smart.
There was slightly higher odds that the item was on the left side, but I didn't even think about that either.
That is galaxy brain.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out how the glove could be in Zelda's chest, actually, because the lamp was glove locked. It was a little weird.
Oh.
Where
But
was
suppose,
the mirror?
well,
Well, yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah,
you can't- technically you can't fire rod from the front of Hyrule Castle. It doesn't count. Fire rod only works from the back of Hyrule Castle.
So Zelda
it's-
just had a glove, and the key was in Dark Sewers. Well, you can get there with Fire Rod. We had early Fire Rod, so the key was always accessible.
Yeah, but the rope room doesn't have a torch in it. That's
I think
why it
all of
doesn't
those
work
rooms
from
do.
the-
Yeah, it
they
does.
do. They all do have torches from both directions. So the logic expects you to be able to get to Dark Cross from both directions with Fire Rod only.
Rope room has torches?
Yeah, it's got 2.
They're in the corners.
I never knew that. I'm terrible at this game.
That's one of the easier rooms. The actual Dark Cross room is the hard one.
You can see how often I go through these rooms, with actual lighting. Okay, I was under the impression that Fire Rod didn't work in front.
Did you have any other questions, Karaoke, that we should get out there?
No, I think we've had some great conversation with the runners' thoughts for this very interesting seed and everything that happened with it. So GG to all of our restream runners here and everyone in the race today out there, the 78 entrants that have completed or might still be racing. I haven't seen how many have finished yet.
Yeah,
It looks
good
like there's
games.
a few still going, I think. Possibly.
Yeah. on their 20-minute delay, so they are currently about the 2-hour 20-minute mark in the race. There are 4 qualifier races left for DT and Christosone to hop in. And if you're interested in watching the next one, folks in chat, it is on Wednesday, November 20th at 9 p.m. Eastern or 3 a.m. CET, whatever that stands for. Central European Time. Ha! I can figure out acronyms on my own. So good games all. It was a pleasure to watch your amazing execution, and I wish you the best of luck in your future qualifier races. That'll do it for us tonight. Thanks for watching, and we'll hope to see you in the next qualifier.
Yep. Have a good night, everybody.